No, you've been quoted as saying that, when you started Wikipedia, um, you also like to remind people that the media landscape was also very different then,
Yeah.
when a lot of people today would not would openly say, "I can't even believe the New York Times." Nobody was really saying that in 2010, were they? And that changed. I think you said to Tucker Carlson that kind of changed overnight at some point, and then you
Yeah.
saw Wiki kind of change with it. I wonder if you could speak on that because it's not entirely your fault, I would say.
Definitely not. Well, actually, I think that the history of the media landscape is really fascinating. And this is the sort of thing where we can, if you're old enough, you can just think back about how it has changed. If you've been reading enough news since, or watching news since the 1980s or 90s, then you've actually seen it unfold. So in the 1980s, in the early 80s, in the United States, it was the news was entirely dominated by the big three plus PBS and NPR, and that was where you got your news from. They presented a unified front. It was like a media monoculture, and then along came Fox News and Rush Limbaugh, which upset a lot of people, of course. And then soon after that, with the internet, when the internet became, well, widely used enough, it started making a difference to the media landscape. So that in the 2000s, you started to see things like World Net Daily and well, any number of other news sources. Epoch Times got a start around then, I suppose, and and of course Joe Rogan and others, and then they just kept building and building. Now, as we know, MSNBC fairly early on, I don't know even know if it was launched as a sort of opinion news. I don't think it was in the earliest days. I think it pivoted to something more like the Fox News model, and for a good decade or more, it was just Fox News and MSNBC that were essentially purveyors of opinion masquerading as news. And then about 2013, 2014, there were a number of high profile panels at the UN and other international organizations that began loudly decrying the rise of misinformation.
Peter Thiel took $500,000 and turned it into $1 billion using the exact same techniques we're using inside the investment club. He met a CEO, his name was Zuckerberg. He pitched him the deal and he said, okay, I'll give you $500,000. Mark went public and sold the shares to people like you. Well, what happened to Peter? Well, he exited and got a 2,300x return. The wealthy invest in early stage companies, folks. The public markets are for suckers. It's a rigged game. By the way, this happens in crypto as well. It's called pre-sale tokens. This is Solana. Does anybody know this chain? They sold pre-sale tokens for 4 cents. And you can see the date on there, April 5th, 2018. Look at Solana today, folks. That thing's up over 1,000x. The media and Wall Street and all these hype people get you to buy the top. Meanwhile, they put their clients in at the bottom and they use you for liquidity to make their clients rich. You can play this same game. You just have to have the financial education and the deal flow. That's it.
And this made a big difference. People, I think, don't realize just how enormous that was as a sort of watershed moment of how our society really changed. Because after that, it became like overnight okay to attack free speech as such. I remember just being shocked at my erstwhile liberal friends um, mocking free speech as freeze peach, right? Back 10 years ago or so. And again, overnight, um, basically in the days of Brexit and Trump's first election, all of the media began to be just as opinionated as Fox News and MSNBC. It was really shocking to a lot of us, of course. And I suppose the youngest adults out there today don't even remember a time when most of the media was actually making an attempt to be more traditionally unbiased, I guess, even if they weren't succeeding very well. And so now we get to the point in 2017, I believe it was, maybe 2018, on Wikipedia, a page was started called the Perennial Sources page, and it was a list of various media sources of various kinds. So not just broadcast news and newspapers, but all kinds of blogs and nonprofit organizations and think tanks and whatnot. They were all listed there as major sources, and they were color coded. The ones that were color coded green could be used without attribution except in footnotes. So the things that they said could be repeated in Wikipedia's own voice, even if they were quite biased, right? Things that were in yellow generally were discouraged. It's like yellow means caution. And basically, those things, you certainly had to attribute any alleged facts to those sources. And then there were two or three other gradations of credibility on the Perennial Sources page. There was red and gray, and if something is red, basically it's a no-go. You're not allowed to use those sources, except perhaps to characterize what the source, information about the source itself. So you could use the source as a source of information about itself. And then the grade sources, that would include things like Breitbart and any number of others. This is not to slam Breitbart. They couldn't be used even as a source for themselves. They were in the software. It's impossible to link. That the software will stop you from linking to those sources. So what happened as a result of this effort to organize the Wikipedians' opinions about how different sources could be used, it quickly became obvious that the liberal center-left sources could be used, or progressive sources, generally speaking, unless they were extremely radical and anti-establishment. And basically all conservative sources between, again, 2017 or so and, I don't know, maybe 2021, they were all essentially blocked from being used. And the only ones that are called conservative are ones that are very much establishment conservative. So we're talking about the Wall Street Journal and the Telegraph. And beyond that, very little.
To continue watching the rest of the episode for free, visit our website londonreal.tv or click the link in the description below.
Hi, it's Brian Rose from London Real. You probably know that we've just recently been re-platformed on YouTube after 25 months completely in the dark. The truth is, I really need your help. What I really need you to do is click on that subscribe button right now, like this video, and maybe even leave a comment or share the link with friends. We're really fighting against an algorithm that's tried to keep us quiet for so long. And the more subscribers we have, the more people watch our content, the better guests we can bring you, the better content, and we can continue transforming lives. We've been doing this for 14 years now. I want to do this for another 14 years, but I really need your help. So click on that subscribe button, like the video, leave a comment, share this, and we're going to continue to bring you more and more great content. Thank you.